Guys, I thought today I would do a video reacting to some more Ink Masters. I mentioned it in a previous video and I said that I would probably do some of these reaction videos because there's a lot wrong with it in my opinion. So I'm probably going to split it up into the episodes and react to them individually rather than just doing a massive, really long video of everything that I think is wrong with the show. Obviously I commented on some things in my last video, but this one is specifically about the episode where they give them tattoo machines as part of their flash challenge that they always set for them to do. And I have quite a few issues with this episode, so yeah, I just thought I would play probably about 4 clips, keep it nice and short, and just comment on the things that I find wrong with this. So yeah, let's start with the first one.
And randomly assigned a human canvas. But first, there's one other detail I left out. We're giving you new tattoo machines. All right, thank you. There is a catch. You must assemble your machine and use it to tattoo your barcode.
Okay, so the issue that I have with this episode is that it's a challenge. So they said it as you get a new machine, but it's a very specific style machine. If I remember rightly, it's like a coil machine. One of the old school styles, and they have to assemble it in order to do their tattoo. So that's part of the challenge. They have to be able to assemble it from scratch. I have an issue with that because they kick off at because there was a couple of the girls that couldn't do it, and the guys were like ribbing them for it. They were like, oh, how can you be in this business and not be able to put a machine together? It's about preference. Like, not everyone likes to tattoo with the old school machines or coil machines. Like, it is preference. Like I said, I trained on one of the old school machines and I absolutely hated it. I got gifted it and I had to put it together. I wouldn't be able to do it now. I mean, I've been retired for a while, but like I wouldn't be able to do it. Like, I did it once, and then after that I probably would never have been able to do it again because it's just so complicated, and they're not very good machines. I'm sorry, but they're not. You have to sit there and like it's just kind of like it just reminds me of how you get some of the old timer guys that love their old school cars just because they're old school cars. And it's like, oh, well, if you own an old school car, you're a poser unless you can actually take it apart and do this and that with it. And it's like, or you just like the car and you just enjoy driving it. I don't really understand this whole point. It's like, it proves something. Like, you need to be able to put this machine together. You don't need to be able to do that. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And like I say, I don't like those machines. I think they look awful. They sound awful. They're really unreliable. Most of them, you end up having to keep your needle in check by rubber bands. It just looks janky. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And yet they're like, oh, you need to be able to put this machine together. How does that prove that you're a good tattoo? It doesn't make any sense. Like I said, my favourite machine that I saved up for and I paid for, it cost me quite a bit of money, but like, it was worth it because it's a really good machine, and it was one of the Tap Tats, and I loved that machine. It was all nice and neatly tucked away. There's ones now that literally look like a pen, a very chunky pen, but a pen. Like, it's all about preference. So this whole thing just really gets on my nerves. Right, next clip.
That sounds good to me. My machine just isn't running how I want it to. I don't have enough time to stop and retune it.
Sounding okay to you?
That thing sounds like a chopper.
Proves my point. They sound awful because they run awful. They're just not reliable machines. Like he said, he doesn't have time to stop and recalibrate it. Because why do you want a machine that you have to spend most of your time having to do that with every few minutes? It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. It's just one of those things, like the old school tattooists, some of the males particularly, which is one of the reasons why I quit, they can be like, you know, oh, you're not a real tattooist unless you can do old school this, or, you know, because they don't know how to do anything else. Is like gatekeeping for it, and it's like anything else is just wrong. So if you don't know how to use one of the old school machines that are really unreliable and not very good, then you're not a real tattooist. It just doesn't make any sense. And even he like is like, I don't have time to recalibrate it, so I'm just gonna have to push on with it. You're tattooing a human being that has to have that on them for the rest of their life, unless they want to get a cover up, if they're able to get a cover up. Do you see my issue here? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just so ridiculous. It really is. And you know, he's just proven everything that I've just said as well, like as an issue. All right, next clip.
Since I put a machine together, it didn't turn on.
Being a well-rounded tattooer, you have to know your equipment, and maybe it's time to focus a little bit more energy on knowing your tools.
Definitely.
You do a lot of different style tattoos. Knowing how to work this machine and knowing how to tune it, you could potentially do a lot better tattoos in the long run.
The weakness.
I don't agree with that either. It's like, oh, you need to know your tools. It's like, okay, but the thing is as well with art, is different for everyone. You know, just because you're an artist, it doesn't mean that you're good at portraits. You could be a landscape artist. You could be really amazing at landscapes and nail everything. But if someone asks you to do a portrait, you can't do it, because that's not your style. Do you see what I mean? So if someone likes painting in acrylics and only knows acrylics, and you give them watercolors and you're like, but you're an artist, you should know all of it. It's like, no, you shouldn't. You have a preference. You know how to use it. If it's not your favorite thing and you're not very good at that particular thing, it doesn't mean that you're not good at your job. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. It's completely irrelevant. Like, if you have your own machine and you have a preference and you don't know how to put a machine together, that doesn't make you a bad tattooist. It just doesn't. If you tattoo poorly, that makes you a bad tattooist. I just don't see the common sense here. I really don't. And then this last clip, if I remember rightly, really irked me. So let's watch that.
Like, how far do you think you could possibly get in this whole competition and not build a tattoo machine from scratch?
Yeah.
I am not a tinker like you guys.
But I'm just saying, in my career, that was like the foundation of
And
starting to learn.
You know what? To be
how
honest with
tattoo.
you, I'm not really good with the mechanical part of it. I'll own that.
What the really? Like, figure out how to cut some springs.
Do I think it's important to know?
Like,
Do you see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. Like she said, she's not very good at the mechanical side of it, which is fair enough. Like, why do you need to be good at the mechanical side of it to be a tattooist? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if your machine isn't working correctly and you know how to use your machine, then you're going to know when it goes wrong. Just because it's not a coil and you haven't built it from scratch. And that guy is saying, how can you expect to go very far without knowing how to build a machine from scratch, is just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. It really is, because it's like, I've never known it before in my life. That's like saying you can't work with, you know, PCs at work. Like, if you work in admin, how can you possibly be good at your job if you don't know how to build a computer? Why would you need to learn how to build a computer? When it goes wrong, you either get a new one or you get someone that does know how to fix it. It doesn't mean that you're bad at your job. It just doesn't make any sense. Where's the logic in that? I don't understand it. And that is just another one of the many reasons why I don't like this show. And another reason is, I kind of touched on it earlier, is the fact that it is very, still to this day, is very male dominated. And they can be so awful. And it's like, oh, you know, like I said, if you don't know how to do old school tattoos with an old school machine, then you're not a real tattooist. And then you look at their work and it's chicken scratch. And it's like, you're really going to say that to me? It doesn't make any sense. I'm watching this show and some of the guys that are saying this stuff to people, like the old school tattooists that have been doing it for 15 years, their work's not very good. It's very outdated, and it's probably great for like men of a specific age. Do you know what I mean? It's that old school, like what that guy did on my arm, like when I was 18 years old. He gave me the most manliest tattoo text and it's square in the middle of my arm. It was awful, and he was mocking me about like stuff that I was into and like my art and stuff like that, and that's what he gave me. Maybe be good at what you do before you start commenting on other people. Just because you're a man and you know you come across a lady that does it as well, and maybe she's a little bit better than you, doesn't mean you have to tear her down and just, you know, it's like, is your manhood and your ego really that delicate? Like, why? Why do you feel the need to be like, oh, you have to be able to do this to be a part of my gang? It's like, no, I don't really want to be a part of your gang. That's one of the reasons why I quit. Like, the people that I worked with were amazing and lovely. Like, the guy that I worked with, Danny Sparrow, sorry. He was awesome. Like, he was a really lovely guy, and he was very welcoming and, like, you know, helped me out a lot. I started as a receptionist, do you know what I mean? And then they offered to train me up. And I was really thankful for that, because everywhere else was full of men that, you know, were your typical stereotypes for that kind of thing, you know? They're like, oh, I'm into my old school bikes and my old cars, and women can't do this job. I hate gays. Those kind of guys, and it's like, you need to change your ways. It's crazy. And some of the guys going on the show are like that, and it's like, how do you run a shop? You're like cutting down a load of clients. You literally are, because it's like, oh, some of them are like, oh, I'm not putting that on a girl, like, I'll do my style. And it's like old school, you know, no offense, but it is what middle-aged men generally have tattooed on them. And it's like, some girls might be into that, but some of them are not. Some of them want the dainty, cute things. What is so wrong with that? I don't understand. And it's the same with the machines. If a girl wants to use something that is lighter in her hand and easier to use, you know, we're allowed. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, I just wanted to do a video about that particular one. I've got some others that I'm going to do videos about, like the portrait one and stuff like that coming up. But yeah, that one really got to me, because I've heard that so many times where it's like, oh, she doesn't even have like the old school machine. It's like, no, I have a modern one that like works really well, is quiet, and is lightweight, and is, you know, easy to maintain and clean. Because those machines aren't. And a lot of them, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of them when they're tattooing, they don't cover up their machine. Like, there's no splashback onto your machine. Of course there's going to be. Like, you know, I just, and those kind of machines especially are so hard, because you have to take them completely apart to clean them, and none of them do it every time in between clients. They just don't. So it's like, at the end of the day, if there's one that's all enclosed and you can spray it down and wipe it off and you're done, why wouldn't you take that option? It's like, yeah, but I get to take mine all apart and recalibrate it, and I, you know, me take stuff apart, and that mentality needs to die. It really does. And the fact that they picked on the girls for that as well, because, you know, they chose a smarter option, is awful. It really is. It's like, but one of the guys couldn't do it either, so his machine sounded like crap, and he didn't want to recalibrate it, and I don't blame him, because, you know, you want to get on and get your stuff done. Why do you want to sit there tinkering with your machine for 20 minutes? The person that you're tattooing doesn't want to sit there while you're fiddling with your, you know, nuts and bolts and your coils, and it's like, I just want to get my tattoo and go home. Do you know what I mean? I've been on both sides of that. You know, obviously I've been a canvas, as they call it in that show, which I still don't agree with, and I've been a tattooist. No one wants that. They don't like the fiddly waiting around part. They just want to get their, like, tattoo done and go home. Just like any other customer with any other business. So yeah, I just thought I'd share my opinions on that. It's just one of the things I thought was a bit rubbish. And I'm surprised. I don't think they've done that since that episode. I haven't seen all of it, because like I say, it annoys me and then I just don't watch it. The little bits that I have seen, I've obviously had a lot of issues with, but I don't think they've done that flash challenge since then, because I think a lot of people were like, how is that relevant? How is that relevant? Like I said, it's like working in admin and not knowing how to build your PC. It's like, no, I don't need to do that. It's just ridiculous. If you're on your, it's like saying, you know, you use your phone every day, you should know how to fix it and you should know how to build it from scratch. Why? Why? Why would I do that? What is wrong with, you know, knowing enough about what you use and not knowing everything about old school ways? I don't understand it. Like, I get, like, you know, if it's to do with, like, the heritage of it and how it was founded, but at the end of the day, original ones, they were stick poke. There's no building involved in that, so I don't really understand, like, the whole thing of you need to learn to build your machine. I only built mine because mine was secondhand and it was kind of a Frankenstein of different parts. I've still got that machine. I have to dig it out and show you guys, but I don't use it. Well, I haven't tattooed in so long, but, like, you know, even when I was tattooing, I didn't use it. I liked my Neo Tat. I loved it so much. It was such a good little machine. Even now, there's better ones out there. Do you know what I mean? That was like 7, 8 years ago, probably now, or maybe even more. I don't know. Since I bought that machine, there'll be so many better ones. Like I said, there's pen versions. Do you know what I mean? Where they're literally just straight up fat pens, which is so much more dynamic and easy to use. But there we go. Yeah. So yeah, that's my rant. Sorry, I've gone on for like 20 minutes about it, but people want my opinion on this stuff, so I'm gonna give it. Yeah, let me know if you guys agree with that. As people that, you know, whether you're a canvas or whether you're a tattooist, whether you agree with what I'm saying, like, or at least do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just aggravating. And it's a bit silly. It just is. I'm sorry, but it is. Like, you need to realise that. Come on. Yeah, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I don't really push that, but I'm supposed to. And there's some links and stuff in the description. I always forget to mention that. And yes, I will see you guys in my next video, which might be another rant. We'll see. Bye.